Hey, what's up guys? John here. So I've been a real estate agent for about 12 years. I know I don't talk about it too much on this channel. And being a real estate agent now, I do it more part-time and just for friends and family and past clients. I'm not out there prospecting and door knocking and doing stuff like that as much anymore. So with that being said, I'm still paying attention to what's happening in the real estate industry. I mean, I'm looking at some of the biggest companies getting crushed right now. They're getting pummeled with Corona, and I'm seeing Zillow just dominate. I am going to make some big predictions in this video, and I'd be very surprised if it all didn't happen. If you're thinking about becoming an agent, you'll learn a lot. And if you are an agent, you'll also learn a lot, most likely. So some big names. Keller Williams. Everyone knows who Keller Williams is if you're in real estate. It's one of the largest real estate brokerages in the country with the most volume of agents. And their CEO, Gary Keller, just stepped down, just posted notice of this. The agency, Mauricio Umansky and Beverly Hills Housewives' husband, what's her name? I can't draw her name, but Kyle Richards. Yeah, her husband, Mauricio Umansky, is one of the co-founders. Well, the other CEO stepped down as well. Someone else took his spot. And then you look at Douglas Elliman. They have a huge footing in New York City. That's pretty much their bread and butter. New York's getting crushed right now in real estate, absolutely decimated. A lot of people are leaving the city. Valuations likely will not return to these levels in a very, very, very long time, or 6 months ago levels, a year ago levels. And all this is going to mean is that people are going to be trying to hold on to their properties. They're going to do the best they can to hold on. And it's going to just be harder and harder and harder to drum up revenue. If it's harder for them to drum up sales, then they have fixed hard costs like office space, secretaries, and they have endless expenses. Well, if they're not bringing in revenue, that's going to equate to big problems. They're already losing millions, and this is public information. This isn't me throwing anyone under the bus. They issued public statements about this. So the agency. Big changes. Keller Williams, big changes. Douglas Elliman, big changes. And even bigger changes with Zillow. Zillow, everyone knows who Zillow is. They are a third party. They kind of work beside the MLS, basically taking home listing inventory from the MLS and using that inventory to put out online. So home buyers are looking at what's available on the market, and Zillow uses that information to sell to real estate agents saying, you should be a premier agent for $1,000 or $1,500 per month. We'll designate a couple zip codes and you can try to pick up some business. So real estate agents will pay Zillow for an opportunity to do that. Well, Zillow said for the longest time that they're not going to operate as a real estate brokerage. They're simply going to work as a third party to collect advertising revenue similar to Facebook. Well, that turned out to be a complete lie. And what they did was they grew their business to such an extent, and then they launched something called an ibuyer program where they can work directly with property owners to offer them an offer for the property. All cash. They're drumming up all this inventory and revenue from Wall Street. They're the inventory of investors from Wall Street and then buying all these properties. They've already bought so many. To put this into context, it already equates for half of 1% of all U.S. home sales are through iBuyer. Not specifically just Zillow, but Zillow is expanding. So as they expand, it's going to make it even harder for real estate agents to compete, because most people, when they sell a property, they dread the idea of open houses. I'm not so sure open houses are occurring today, but open houses, consistent showings, the hassle, keeping the house ready, inspections, going through all that. Well, Zillow is going to offer an alternative, and I think it's going to be attractive for some people. Not for all people, but for some people. And it's just going to take away a little bit of business from the traditional agent. So recapping, real estate brokerages, I think, are going to get completely revitalized and changed. I think that the big household names are going to be going under. I think it's actually unlikely that they don't go under, because their costs are so high, they're fixed. And when this market crashes, real estate agents are going to be looking for a way to keep more money in their pocket. They're not going to want to give 10, 20, 30% of their revenue to a traditional real estate brokerage, especially when they can't utilize a network going into an office, socializing, going to office meetings, all these things that really made a good real estate brokerage attractive. That is no longer something that they're able to offer their agents. So what's the point of really building up someone else's brand with a Coldwell Banker, one of these big names, building up their brand by all the postcards and advertising and open house signs and doing everything, when ultimately they go under, then you have nothing, or you're essentially locked into this brokerage forever. It makes more sense for people to build out their own name and do it online through social media, and it's going to help them to cut down on their own fees, their own commissions. They can keep more money in their own pocket. And I think this is going to be a big problem for brokerages. I think brokerages are not going to be able to compete. I think it's pretty much going to be a wrap for brokerages next few years. And I think Zillow is only going to grow and dominate. And I think they're ultimately going to get into the service business where they have agents and they're out there offering two options. You can hire Zillow and you can work with us for a reduced commission, or we can buy your property. And they'll offer these two alternatives, and I think it's just going to be next to impossible for agents to compete. And most agents, and let's just be realistic, don't create that much value. They don't. What they do is they take a listing agreement, hire a photographer comes over, takes pictures, they post the pictures on the MLS spits it out to Zillow and Trulia and all these other websites, and it goes online, and consumers look to see what's online for sale, and then they'll schedule their showings accordingly, and agents simply educate the consumer when they get to the property about what's selling in the market, which buyers can really kind of figure out themselves, and try to sell the property. That's it. But ultimately, the consumer has to, in a way, want to buy the property for them to be sold for the most part, and then they schedule the inspections and try to negotiate the best deal, either for their seller or for their buyer. So it's really not that complicated. And after that, they just streamline it through an escrow company or a title company or whoever, depending upon which state you're operating in. There's different practices and procedures. But that being said, I bet that's going to get streamlined. I think real estate agents are going to go extinct in the future. And I think if you are smart right now, you're adapting and changing and making your plays accordingly, so that way you can kind of draw as much cash in this as possible and start investing in property, especially this upcoming downtrend. I'm already hearing about big private equity companies raising, one big company just raised $1 billion. They want to go buy 3,500 homes. And this is going to happen. Zillow, iBuyer, all these Wall Street companies, they're going to run out there trying to buy up all the single family homes, as well as big tech, as everyone's heard me mention. And when this crash happens, it's just going to be you're going to want to have some cash in your pocket, cash and credit, so you can run out there and go buy a really, really good deal. Because it's never the agent that's rich; it's always the investor. So you'll make way more money buying a really good rental property than you will as being a agent in a business that's slowly dying every single month, especially with this whole shutdown and this new normal and all this. It's what's happening right now is that consumers are spending so much time online that they're just becoming more aware of the process. They're on Zillow more. They're looking at what's selling in the neighborhood more. They're just more accustomed to making a purchase online, and before you know it, it's going to take away some of what made agents so powerful, which was the face-to-face contact. And people are going to become less likely to, I think, meet people face-to-face in the coming couple of years. I think it's going to be more likely people are just making quick decisions online, and you're not going to need a traditional real estate brokers to do that. So yeah, I mean, it's just crazy for me because I've been a real estate agent for so long, and just seeing all these changes happen so fast, it's interesting. But I think some big opportunities could come from this. Like if you are let's say that you have a really big personality brand, I mean, this could be huge for you, because what you could be doing is you could be seizing agents from all over the country or all over the world and depending on licensing requirements is vary from state to state, but you basically can pull up all these agents and let them advertise your brand, and then they just give you a small little fee and they can leverage your brand to try to attract customers. So that would be a very, very smart strategy going forward, to where it makes sense for them, it makes sense for you, and your brand ultimately down the road will equate to way more than the small real estate agent sales that you're drumming up. But a lot of interesting, cool ways to make a lot of money in real estate, and in overall in business right now over the next, I think, couple of years. So that being said, please hit that like button, drop your comments below, hit the subscribe button as well, and I'll see you guys next video.